Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. I still remember the exact sound her laughter made that night. Soft, careful, the kind she used only when she didn't want to be overheard. I just pulled into the grocery store lot after a late shift. My mind was on bills, dinner, the small things married people usually worry about. Then I saw her. Harper was leaning against a dark gray pickup truck, her hair pulled into the loose ponytail she never wore at home anymore. She kept brushing the strands behind her ear like she wanted to look good for whoever stood in front of her. Then he stepped into view, a tall man in a fitted jacket. Confident, comfortable, too comfortable. He said something that made her blush, not smile, not giggle, blush like a teenager. Then she lightly touched his arm. A touch I hadn't felt from her in months. My first reaction wasn't rage. It was a kind of numbness, like all the noise in the world had been muted. I watched her glance around, as if checking whether anyone she knew might see her, but she never looked behind the parked cars where I stood frozen. She wasn't scared of being caught, because in her mind, I would never even think to look. The man opened the truck door, and she slid in beside him. Not hesitantly, not nervously, like she'd done it before. The engine rumbled. The headlights swept over my shoes. And the woman I married disappeared into the night with him. But instead of chasing after them, I took out my phone and clicked record. Every second, every angle, every lie she thought she'd get away with. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't even hint that I'd seen anything. I went home, cooked dinner for myself, showered, changed into clean clothes, and sat on the couch scrolling through her photos like normal, pretending everything inside me wasn't quietly rearranging itself. When Harper finally came home hours later, smelling like cologne that didn't belong in my house, she acted exhausted. She dropped her purse onto the table, kicked off her shoes, and muttered, "Long day at work. I'm going straight to bed." No kiss, no glance, not even a question about how my day went. And that was when the numbness began turning into something sharper, heavier, more focused. I didn't go to bed. I sat at my computer, opened a folder of videos I'd secretly been collecting for weeks, and watched the pattern repeat over and over again. Late-night gym sessions that didn't exist, sudden team meetings, cars parked in the same hidden lot behind the hardware store. Her nervous smiles, his hand brushing her hip, her leaning into him like she was his. She thought I was blind, but I was done being blind. The next morning, I made coffee like usual. Packed her lunch like usual. Kissed her cheek like usual. She barely reacted. But inside me, something new had woken up. Not fury. Not heartbreak. Something colder. Something patient. A plan. Because when someone betrays you this deeply, the worst revenge isn't yelling or begging or crying. It's letting them walk into their own downfall, thinking they're still in control. And Harper had no idea the ground beneath her was already beginning to crack. The next few days felt like walking through a house where every wall hid a secret microphone. Every word Harper said, every step she took, every fake smile she offered me, it all felt rehearsed, like she was performing a role she no longer wanted but didn't know how to exit without causing suspicion. But I'd stopped being suspicious the moment I became certain. I began observing her with the kind of quiet that made people uncomfortable if they paid close attention. Harper didn't. She was so wrapped up in whatever fantasy she was living with that man. His name, I would later learn, was Colton Hayes, a divorce contractor she apparently met at her gym, that she didn't notice the change in my eyes. She didn't notice much of anything about me anymore. She didn't notice how I stopped asking about her day. She didn't notice how I no longer reached for her hand. She didn't notice when I turned down her half-hearted attempts at small talk. She didn't notice because she believed she'd already moved on emotionally. But she didn't know I'd started placing small cameras around the house. Nothing invasive or inappropriate, strictly surface level, recording only living room, kitchen, hallways. I didn't install anything private. Everything remained within YouTube-safe boundaries. I only needed to see what she was doing when she thought she was alone. And what I found confirmed every fear I had. 2 days after the truck incident, Harper sat on the couch, twirling her hair like a teenager, smiling at her phone. Miss you already, she whispered into a voice note she recorded. Then she giggled, and sent it. I played that clip back at least 20 times. Not because I couldn't believe it, but because I needed to memorize the tone. The softness I hadn't heard in so long. It wasn't grief that filled me then. It was clarity. I needed a strategy, a controlled storm, not an explosion. That week, I visited an old friend, Clara Jensen. We'd known each other since college, and she worked in cybersecurity for a small firm downtown. I didn't tell her everything, just enough. I'm not trying to invade anyone's privacy, I said. I'm protecting myself. I just need to know the truth, all of it. Clara studied me with the same expression a doctor gives before delivering bad news. Do you want confirmation, she asked quietly, or do you want proof? Both, I answered, and she understood. Using only legal, publicly accessible methods. Phone backups Harper had given permission for years ago, cloud accounts she'd logged into on our shared devices. Clara helped me retrieve deleted messages, call logs, voice notes, and hidden photos. Nothing explicit, nothing graphic, just communication. Emotional connections that weren't meant for me. We found entire months of conversations between Harper and Colton. Pet names, late-night confessions, plans to talk about the future, complaints about me. I think he's too predictable, one message read. He's a good guy, but he's boring. It's like living with a beige wall. Beige. She compared me. The man who held her during her panic attacks, who worked double shifts to pay off her student loans, to a wall. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't even close the laptop. I just sat there, letting the words carve themselves into me, letting each one become another piece of the armor I was building. Clara rested a hand on my shoulder. You know what you're going to do? I know exactly what I'm going to do, I said. Because revenge doesn't have to be violent. It doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes the quietest consequences are the strongest. Back at home, I played along with Harper's routine. She pretended she was still trying in our marriage, and I pretended I believed her. She cooked dinner twice that week, something she hadn't done in months. She even asked me how work was, though she didn't actually wait for the answer. Then came Friday night. She stood in front of the mirror wearing a copper dress she never wore around me. She used to dress beautifully for our date nights, but over the last year, she'd grown indifferent, showing up in hoodies and tied back hair. But tonight, her curls were perfect, her makeup subtle but glowing. She looked breathtaking, but not for me. I have a work dinner, she said, grabbing her purse. She didn't even try to make it believable. I nodded, forcing a warm, accepting smile. She left at 7:43 p.m. Colton picked her up at 7:51 p.m. I watched from inside the darkened hallway as she jogged to his truck like a girl running toward a movie ending. The recording caught everything. Her grin, the way she leaned into him, how she brushed his cheek with the back of her fingers. That night, after collecting all the footage I needed, I placed everything, every video, every text screenshot, every voice note, every cloud message, into one organized folder on my laptop, labeled simply Truth. And then I booked the marriage counseling appointment she assumed would be another pointless attempt to fix what she had already destroyed. She had no idea that when she sat in that room, I would finally stop pretending. The morning of the counseling session didn't feel like a breaking point. It felt like a finish line. I woke up earlier than usual, made coffee, and sat at the table quietly. Not scrolling, not thinking, just waiting. Every minute that passed felt like a countdown. I had rehearsed nothing, planned no speeches, prepared no emotional requests. This wasn't about fixing anything anymore. This was about finally telling the truth to myself. Harper walked into the kitchen wearing her polite wife expression again. She gave me one of those mechanical smiles, the kind that looked like it belonged to a stranger, try to imitate someone who once loved me. You ready for today? She asked. I'm ready, I said, and the steadiness in my own voice surprised me. She didn't ask what I meant. She didn't sense the shift. She didn't even look long enough to read my face. She was too busy checking her phone, typing furiously, probably to him. When she grabbed her keys, her screen lit up with a message. She quickly tilted it away, but I'd memorized the look of her guilty smile by now. I didn't react, didn't confront, didn't grab the phone. I simply followed her to the car, calm as still water. Let her think I was clueless. Let her think I was trying to work on us. Let her build the stage for her own downfall. When we entered Dr. Rhodes' office, Harper walked in first. She always did. She liked being seen as the one in control. She shook the therapist's hand dramatically, as if she were the one trying to save the marriage. I sat down without a word. Dr. Rhodes folded her notebook and looked between us. Before we begin, is there anything either of you wants to say? I stayed silent on purpose. Harper took the bait. She let out a breathy sigh, brushing a curl behind her ear. Well, I guess I should just be honest, she said, placing a hand on her chest like she was performing a monologue. I've been unhappy for a long time. Dr. Rhodes nodded gently. What does unhappiness look like to you? Harper looked at me. No sadness, no regret, just coldness. It's like I'm married to someone who doesn't excite me anymore. I feel like we've become roommates. I don't feel emotionally connected. I don't feel in love. There it was. The blade. Pressed right to my chest. But it didn't cut. Not anymore. I watched her talk about lack of passion, losing herself, feeling suffocated. Every word was a script she had rehearsed in her mind while laying next to another man. Dr. Rhodes finally turned to me. Daniel, do you want to respond? I didn't answer immediately. I wanted the room to grow still. I wanted Harper to feel the silence, to question it, to wonder why I wasn't defending myself like the man she once knew. She shifted in her seat. Are you even going to say something? I finally leaned forward, elbows on my knees, and spoke calmly. You're right about something, I said. This marriage hasn't been healthy. She blinked, confused. I rarely agreed with her. But you're wrong about the cause, I continued. Because while you were losing interest, I was losing trust. Her eyes widened. What does that mean? Dr. Rhodes leaned in. Daniel, can you explain? I nodded slowly. I don't want to fight, I said softly. I don't want to blame you. I just want things to be honest. She actually scoffed. Honest? Now you care about honesty? Oh, the irony. Dr. Rhodes raised her hand. Harper, let him finish. I reached into my jacket pocket, not with anger but with precision, and placed a USB drive on the table. Just a small, plain piece of metal. But Harper reacted like I had thrown a grenade. What is that? She whispered. For months, I said evenly, I thought something was wrong with me. But it turns out something was wrong with us. Her face drained of color. Dr. Rhodes sat up straighter. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse. I simply laid out the truth, like a surgeon making a careful incision. I know about your meetings, your drives, your messages, your lunches that weren't lunches, your work dinners, your truck rides. Harper's breathing hitched hard. Her hands started to shake. Daniel, stop, please. I held up a hand gently. No yelling, no drama, nothing inappropriate. Everything on that drive is surface level. Screenshots, recordings from public places, deleted messages you sent from shared devices. Nothing private, nothing beyond the boundaries. Dr. Rhodes looked stunned. Harper, is this true? Harper's lips parted, but nothing came out. I kept my voice steady, calm in a way that scared even me. I didn't come here to fix the marriage, I said softly. I came here to finish it. The air in the room changed. It felt heavier, colder. Harper leaned forward, reaching for me like a woman drowning. Daniel, please, just wait. Let's talk. This isn't what you think. I shook my head almost kindly. It's exactly what I think. For the first time in a long time, I saw the truth in her eyes. Fear. Real, unfiltered fear. She wasn't scared of losing me. She was scared of losing the version of her life where she got to lie without consequences. I stood up slowly, and in that moment, Harper realized this wasn't a negotiation. This was the ending she built herself. When I stood from that couch, Harper looked like she'd been dropped into ice water. Her eyes darted between me, Dr. Rhodes, and the USB drive, like she was hoping someone would step in and reverse time for her. Daniel, please, she whispered, rising from her seat halfway. We can fix this. I just said things out of frustration. You're misunderstanding. I'm not, I said gently, and that gentleness hit her harder than anger ever could. Dr. Rhodes's voice was quiet but firm. Harper, your husband is telling you he's been aware of the emotional breach in the marriage. This is your moment to be honest. Harper sank back into her chair as though her legs couldn't hold her weight anymore. I didn't mean for anything to happen. I felt appreciated. Colton made me feel like. I lifted a hand. I don't care about the details. I'm done trying to analyze why. She flinched. Hearing me say done out loud made it real. I placed my wedding ring on the table. Not with drama, not with force, just a quiet, deliberate motion that said everything I needed to say. This marriage ended the moment you chose someone else, I said. Today, I'm simply acknowledging it. Her voice cracked. Daniel, don't walk out. Please. I'll end it with him. I'll show you everything. Just don't leave me. If she had said those words months ago, maybe even weeks ago, they might have meant something. But now, they weren't about love. They were about losing control. I took a breath. Harper, you didn't lose me today. You lost me the day you thought I would never find out. Her hands trembled. What are you going to do with that? She asked, nodding toward the USB. Nothing public, I said. Nothing harmful. Nothing outside the law. I'm not interested in ruining your life. She blinked, confused, relieved, hopeful, all at once. Then I delivered the sentence that changed her expression entirely. But I am done protecting your version of our marriage. Her jaw clenched. What does that mean? It means I've already spoken to an attorney. He has the folder. The truth will be used only where it legally matters. No more lies. No more hiding. Her relief shattered. Divorce wasn't the thing she feared. It was losing the safety net she assumed I'd always provide. Daniel, you can't please my family, my job. I can't have them seeing. They won't, I said. Not unless you try to twist this into something it wasn't. The moment you weaponize a lie, the moment you try to make me the villain, the moment you rewrite the story, the truth becomes my defense. Not revenge. Her eyes filled with tears, not sadness, but panic. The kind of panic only people who built their lives on quiet deceit ever feel. I walked to the door, hand on the handle, heart steady. Goodbye, Harper. She took a step forward, reaching out a trembling hand. Daniel, don't leave. Please, just talk to me. But her words sounded small, empty, echoes of something that once mattered but no longer held shape. I stepped into the hallway, leaving behind the woman who thought she could break me without consequence. The door clicked shut behind me, and I swear, for the first time in years, the air felt light. In the weeks that followed, everything unfolded quietly, not explosively, not dramatically. Harper tried calling, texting, showing up at my work, sending long paragraphs about regret and confusion. I kept everything civil, factual, and distant. Her family reached out too, confused, insisting it must be a misunderstanding. I simply forwarded the legal summary my attorney prepared. No dramatics, no shouting, just truth. Colton vanished from the picture entirely once reality hit him too. And me? I didn't jump into someone new. I didn't celebrate. I didn't win. I healed. Slowly, steadily, with dignity intact. My revenge wasn't humiliating her. My revenge wasn't exposing her. My revenge wasn't destroying her life. My revenge was walking away with my integrity, my truth, and my future, while she was left with the consequences of her own choices. And sometimes the cleanest ending is the loudest justice.